Hello viewers, welcome back to another session. In this session, we are going to learn on late adulthood, that is old age. In this particular lesson, we will understand the physical, cognitive, social and emotional changes that takes place in old age. What do you mean by old age? Old age is the closing period or the last period of lifespan, and it relates to the negative aspects of the entire lifespan perspective in terms of physiological decline, cognitive decline and also social and emotional decline for majority of elderly people. Now, old age is characterized by many factors. Usually, elderly people are considered as the senior citizens of the country, and the age group is from 60 years and above. Now, the old age is divided into 3 different age groups, that is, which extends from 60 to 70 years, and advanced old age, which extends from 70 and end of the life. So, we have already witnessed many individuals who have crossed more than 80 years, who have crossed 100 years as the longevity increases. So, individuals who are 80 years are called as octogenarians. Individuals who have crossed 100 years are called centenarians. We have seen old age from our family members itself. You must be having your grandfather, grandmother, some other distant relatives who are old. You must have seen some significant changes when you look at an elderly person. What could be the significant changes that we see? So, these changes can be understood or underlined from the physical perspective, the cognitive perspective, social and emotional perspective. Let us go into the details of what physical changes that are being so significant among these elderly people. We will now discuss on the physical development during late adulthood. I would be using the terms late adulthood and old age synonymously. Old age can also be referred as late adulthood. I would like to mention here that in old age, there are certain significant drastic physiological changes that takes place in terms of the deterioration of the nervous system. When I am talking about the deterioration of nervous system, there is a fall down or there is a decrease in the various circulatory system, and also there is a degeneration of the neurons in the body. As a result, there is an evidence of graying of hair, wrinkles in the skin and poor eyesight and so many other significant changes that we notice in the elderly population. The nervous system, as aging of the nervous system affects a wide range of complex thoughts and activities among the elderly individuals, and the loss becomes greater after 60. Throughout the middle age, these particular nervous system changes and deterioration are not very significant, but in the elderly population after 60 years of age, it becomes a significant factor in terms of the change in the nervous system. Also, the sensory system plays a crucial role. When we are talking about the sensory system, there are certain sense organs which are playing a crucial role, that is the touch, the smell, vision, hearing, taste. So, all these sense organs are equally affected among the elderly depending on the individual's health and illness are concerned. A healthy elderly person may delay in having such sensory problems for a particular period of time. Usually, we see that many elderly people have problem with their vision. Now, they have a poor eyesight, and sometimes due to other chronic associated illnesses, they may also experience cataract, which is a problem with the eye, and the vision is affected in the individuals. Apart from the vision, the individuals may also experience problem with hearing. And during elderly interactions, we try to see that the elderly are not able to hear what we say. They try to emphasize on repetition of what is being told to them. Sometimes the elderly would like to understand from the lip movement and try to understand what is being conveyed to them. Therefore, hearing loss is quite evident in the elderly population. Taste and smell also plays an important role, where older adults have greater difficulty recognizing familiar foods by taste alone. Smoking, dentures, medications and environmental pollutants can also affect the taste perception in the elderly population. And smell also contributes to the enjoyment of food. Therefore, all these senses are slowly deteriorating, degenerating among this elderly population, which needs to be taken care of. Another important domain is the touch sensation. Now, it is quite evident that touch plays a significant role in the communication process, and touch conveys lot of important messages, and the hand receptors and other skin receptors are quite crucial in terms of experiencing a particular touch. Whether the sensation is being felt or not is not clear among the elderly population. In continuation with the physiological changes, I would like to mention here that two important systems are affected in the elderly population. The first is the cardiovascular system and the second is the respiratory system. Let us see how. Aging of the cardiovascular and respiratory systems proceeds gradually during early and middle adulthood, usually without notice. Usually what happens is, in the elderly age groups, whatever the physiological changes are taking place, they are taking place silently. The aging process, that is the internal biological aging, is significantly or dynamically changing without the notice of the individual. Henceforth, the cardiovascular system is silent in terms of the drastic changes. What are the various cardiovascular diseases? Let us see. Hypertension is one cardiovascular diseases, and another heart related problems are related to cardiovascular. So, hypertension is considered to be one of the silent killer. Maybe by this time many elderly people could have been diagnosed with hypertension, or some may not be diagnosed with hypertension, but still this problem may arise in that particular individuals. Therefore, these problems remain silent in the elderly population, leading to drastic health related problems and even death. In continuation with physiological problems, I would also like to mention that there is a deterioration in the immunity of the elderly population. There is a decline in the immune system, where they are prone to certain illnesses, and it becomes very important to take care of these elderly people in a very careful manner. The caregiving role becomes very crucial when providing the care towards the elderly people. Therefore, there is a definite impact of the immunity when we are talking about old age. The face is especially likely to show these effects because in terms of graying hair, wrinkles, then sometimes their exposure to certain environmental pollutants also accelerates the aging process of the individual. Cells are deposited on the outer layer of the skeleton, and teeth may be yellowed, cracked and chipped, and gums may recede. These are the various changes that you can see when you look at a particular old person. Now we will discuss upon the immune system which affects the elderly population. The immunity of the elderly decreases as the age increases, and with the increasing age, the immunity of the individual is affected and they are prone to certain infectious diseases. These infectious diseases such as flu, cardiovascular disease, certain forms of cancer and a variety of autoimmune disorders are being experienced. And diabetes is also one of the important contributor of chronic disease. But an age-related decline in immune functioning is not the cause of most illnesses among the elderly. It could be one of the reasons. Immunity merely permits diseases to progress, whereas strong immune reaction would have stamped out the disease agent. And when you are mentioning about the strong immune system, it is dependent on the individual's lifestyle, the genetic inheritance. All these factors certainly contribute in a high level of immune system of the individual. Now we will talk about sleep as an important physiological aspect in the elderly population. Sleep is very essential. Sleep requires certain amount of time, and every individual need to sleep for a particular period of time, and ideally it is the 6 to 8 hours which is supposed to be the sleep time for individuals. Let us see how it is different in elderly people. Older adults require about the same total sleep time as younger adults, around 7 hours per night. Yet as people age, they have more difficulty in falling asleep, staying asleep and sleeping deeply, a trend that begins after age 30 for men and after 50 for women. The timing of sleep changes as per the individual's lifestyle practices, and changes in brain structure is also very crucial in controlling the sleep, and it is the stress which contributes in the sleep patterns of an individual. Therefore, if the individual is prone to stress, now there is an impact in the patterns of sleep of the individual. The higher the stress, the higher will be the sleep problems. Therefore, there is a direct relationship with sleep and stress problems in the individual's life. A significant sleep disorder, that is sleep apnea, is being experienced by many elderly individuals. Let us see what sleep apnea is. Sleep apnea is a condition in which breathing ceases for around 10 seconds or even longer, resulting in many brief awakenings. The incidence of sleep apnea in elderly men is high when you compare with women. Let us now talk about the physical appearance and mobility during late adulthood. Now, physical appearance. What do we understand by physical appearance? That means the individual's external appearance, how the individual looks. When you look at an elderly person, say for example, if you look at your grandmother, if you look at your grandfather, how do they look like? What is the color of their hair? How does the skin looks? Now, it is quite evident that the inner physical declines, and we have considered that are accompanied by many outward signs of aging. Beginning from skin, hair and facial structure and overall body build, it is indicated that the physical appearance of elderly is evident. Several factors affect mobility. Now, many elderly people are not in a position to move so frequently as they used to move earlier. They cannot run, they cannot walk fast. There are possibility of injuries that may take place because there is a decline in the muscle as well as the bone strength. Hence, they are unable to move so frequently. Therefore, there is a decline in the mobility. It is evident that not only the physical appearance but mobility is also affected in the elderly population. Let us now talk about the cognitive development in late adulthood. Now, it is quite evident that when you see an old person, what do you observe in respect to cognition? It is the memory which is affected most of the time. They are not able to remember certain things in their life, or they are not in a position to remember the person, not able to recognize the face of the person. There are certain factors which are affecting the memory. Let us see the cognitive aspects that takes place in the elderly population. There are certain types of memories which are affected, that is the automatic memory versus deliberate memory, where deliberately they remember certain things and certain things they are operating consciously, where they can remember the name of their place, birthplace or the education, or certain memories which are stored in them and which are consciously operated. So, it becomes very easier for them to remember certain aspects that are related to their life. Automatic memory is also called as implicit memory or memory without conscious awareness. One need not be consciously aware that his name is so and so. He can automatically tell his name that I am so and so, I stay so and so, I belong to so and so. So, this automatic memory is quite dominant in the elderly population. Another memory called as associative memory, where there is a difficulty creating and retrieving the links between pieces of information. For example, two items or an item and its context, such as one trying to remember the name of the movie with the child actor or where one had seen the movie. There is a lack of association from a particular context. Therefore, the individuals have difficulty in associating their memories with the person and the situation. As a result, they have a difficulty in associating certain relations with regard to their memory is affected. Another interesting type of memory that we can observe in elderly population is the remote memory. Now, what do you mean by remote memory? Remote memory, or it can be also called as a very long term recall, that is very evident in the elderly people. If you ask about their childhood, they are so strong, they try to interact, they try to share what has happened in their childhood life. That means this memory is deeply rooted in their brain. That means this memory, they are readily available for them. They can share this particular memory, and this memory is considered to be the remote memory, which is long and which is involved in a long term process. Another important domain of cognitive development, and especially with regard to memory, is the prospective memory. Prospective memory is talking in terms of the individual's future plan, how the individual would like to plan, or how does the individual would like to visualize in the future. So, prospective memory is also significant among the elderly population in terms of looking at the future, like in terms of what is going to happen in the near future. And here older adults do better on event based than time based prospective memory task. In an event based task, an event such as a certain word appearing on a computer screen serves as a cue for remembering to do something, pressing a key, while the participant engages in an ongoing activity. As long as the event based task is not complex, older adults can do better than younger adults. So, the prospective memory is quite operating and quite active among the elderly population. The problems with memory can be understood in terms of certain cognitive deterioration disorders like dementia. Dementia is a disorder which refers to significant loss of memory, especially in the elderly population. And Alzheimer's disease is also another important significant cognitive deterioration disorder, which you need not go into the details of it, but these are the cognitive deterioration disorders that takes place in the elderly population. One is dementia, that is loss of memory, and Alzheimer's disease. As a social worker, I think you should be able to analyze the life of an elderly person. And here I would like to quote about an important theorist called Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages of personality. What is a life, what is a personality of an individual when you are talking in terms of the psychological and social aspects. So, if you are referring to elderly person, we can understand the two extremes of his personality. One is the ego integrity and despair. During this particular stage of ego integrity, all the positive achievements, all the success, all the career oriented establishments are quite satisfying for the elderly person. As a result, he is able to integrate all his achievements in a positive direction, which will support him towards a positive and successful aging. But when it comes to despair, because of all the negative aspects of his life experiences are contributing towards unhappiness and despair, as a result experiencing old age as a negative and more dissatisfying. Now, there is a sequence of old age. Now, we will discuss about social and emotional development during late adulthood. So, there are certain significant social changes that are being experienced by the elderly population. Now, what could be the social changes? Now, let us look at from the family point of view. There is a significant evidence that is being indicated that elderly people are not considered as one of the favorable group, and the young age group individuals try to perceive old age as a negative age, and they have high level of disrespect towards the elderly people. Now, they are targeted towards humiliation. They are also considered to be one of the minority group, and they are labeled as senior citizens. Now, in this respect, the social setup and the outlook towards the elderly population is a need to be understood. They are considered to be underprivileged. The concept of marriage is very essential in understanding elderly population with regard to social development. Now, what could be the relationship, especially in the elderly life, and when you are talking about marriage? Now, it is the fulfillment of the relationship. if it is going towards the positive direction, then definitely there is a change of roles when it comes to marriage. Now, here it is indicated that men have increased involvement in caring for the home. Now, the elderly men are more active in helping the wife, and they are also concerned with the family related activities in terms of establishing the children's life, in terms of marital settlements for the children, career settlement for the children, and also preparing themselves to become grandparents. This becomes a crucial role played by the elderly individuals with regard to their marriage. Sometimes not all marriage, as I was discussing in the earlier lesson, that not all marriage is a successful marriage. It can be an unsuccessful marriage as well. Therefore, it may also result in divorce. Sometimes at the last phase of life, because of conflict of interest, because of mutual differences, they may also go into separation at that particular age, where the wife may stay away from husband, or they may officially legally be separated. In this aspect, the possibility of going for a remarriage is another important consideration in the relationships. So, many men, mostly it is men who would like to prefer for a remarriage than women. Therefore, again going back to the readjustments, all these problems are an important concern during the old age. How they are going to live with a spouse and living with children. There is a lot of physiological, psychological and social changes that needs to be adapted during this particular phase. Couples who divorce in late adulthood constitute a very small portion. That means not a majority of individuals would like to prefer for a divorce, but even though it is considerable. And divorce rate among people above 65 years and older is increasing nowadays. Why? The reason behind increasing age and increasing divorce is because of the longevity. Now, the lifespan of the individual is increased. Therefore, there is a high possibility of going for divorce. Remarriage rates are also low in the late adulthood and decline with age. As the individual's age is increasing, they may not go for a remarriage, but during the middle age, the remarriage concept is quite dominant when you compare with old age. The most significant change that can be understood in terms of the social change is widowhood. Usually in this particular period, many women are widowed and many men are widowers. That means there is a loss of spouse. Now, how to live in the absence of such situation? Now, it becomes very difficult for them to lead their rest of their life without the spouse, and this results in loneliness, and this results to psychological problems, and this may also lead to suicide and depression among the elderly. The most significant contribution with regard to social change is the retirement. That means now they have no more role to play with regard to their respective work life. They have to retire, they have to stop working. Now, how to live after retirement? Now, there is a concept called pre-retirement planning. Now, every individual should be able to plan before their retirement, which will lead them to have a successful retirement life and also enjoy their leisure and leisure activities. So, going for retirement, planning for retirement is also another social change that needs to be adapted by these elderly people. How to indulge into leisure activities is a very important consideration in the elderly population. Not many elderly are engaged in leisure activities. The reason behind is because of their attachment towards their past life, that is their work oriented roles, and their attachment towards their family relationships. Many individuals lack recreational activities. It is the time to enjoy the leisure, it is a time to spend on recreational activities which needs to be emphasized. I would also mention that enjoying the leisure activities will certainly contribute to physical and psychological well-being during the old age. On an overall understanding, we need to understand that old age is the end of lifespan, but still it can be completed in a graceful manner. So, productive aging, successful aging should be the aim of every individual, and successful agers are the people whom growth, vitality and striving limit and at times overcome physical, cognitive, social and emotional changes. That means the more positive look that the individual have towards the life, the successful the individual can be in terms of aging gracefully. In this session, we have understood, we have learned that old age is the last phase of lifespan, or it is a closing phase of lifespan, and there are certain changes in terms of physical changes where it is significantly noted in terms of the appearance, in terms of the physiological deterioration, the biological aging, where there is a reduced mobility in the elderly population. So, the physiological changes are quite evident in terms of the diseases that they are experiencing. It could be because of the lifestyle, it could be because of the genetic component, or it could be because of the aging process, which together contribute to the biological changes in the elderly population. After learning this particular lesson, let us look at the questions. The first question, explain the physical changes during late adulthood. Second question, explain the cognitive changes during late adulthood. Third question, what is the role of social relationships in old age? You have certain references that are mentioned in the text. I would like to suggest that you can go through two references. One is Harlock, the author name is Harlock. The title of the book is Developmental Psychology, publisher Tata McGraw-Hill Education. Another book for your reference, the author name is Laura E. Burke. The title of the book is Lifespan Development, publisher Pearson Education.